Hey guys, Zyger here. I wanted to show you guys some potential gearing scenarios for Season 2 because a few people have asked me what's the best way, to gear up, not only through levels 1 to 70, but what do you do once you get 70 prior to when you get the Akon's set bonuses and also special weapons or shields. So I wanted to kind of answer that question in the form of a video, and I'm just going to go through some scenarios of what I see as potential for my journey through level 1 to 70 and thereafter in Season 2. So to do that, I just first want to show a basic setup that you can do with basically no gear. And this is a potential gearing scenario that I'm going to have during Season 2, especially because it works with not a ton of gear. Just the first thing to say about this build is that Steed Charge, and then these three abilities, Provoke, Laws of Valor, and Akarat's Champion, probably won't change too much throughout the course of the season. Of course, prior to getting these skills, you'll have to fill these slots with different options, but these apply to most skills builds and will work in conjunction with most ways that you can gear and spec a Crusader. So, in terms of that, Akarat's Champion, I often talk about how you always use the Prophet rune for that. Well, not leveling. Leveling, you use Firestarter, because prior to getting the Akon set bonus, Prophet is not as relevant. It won't help you out because it's only up, 50% of the time, if that. If you have incredible cooldown, it's not going to be up often. Firestarter gives you the ability to do some additional fire damage to enemies that you come close to, which helps during leveling. Unstoppable Force is your Wrath battery, and that's something that you're going to want to have all the time. Provoke's too scared to run. It's your Wrath replenishment, plus it slows enemies and their attack speed, which helps you no matter what. Of course, you've seen how I use this in the Condemn build. It helps you during leveling too. Justice is a pretty good primary attack that we're going to use with Crack potentially through Season 2 because it splits off and does decent damage as a generator. This is a holy rune, and in conjunction with that, we're going to go with Blessed Hammer with the Limitless rune, also holy, and we're going to see how that kind of works. Now, with passives, I'll just show you this, that Finery is not a passive that we're going to want to use in Season 2 during leveling. Finery only really becomes applicable once you get enough sockets to really make it worth it. Right now I'm running 10 sockets, so during the leveling process you're not going to have that. Wrathful is a very good sustainable skill that you could use, replenishes your life while you're spending Wrath. Holy Cause and Indestructible are always good, but there's some choices here. When you're leveling, I'm going to be using this Blunt skill for this spec in particular because it allows Justice and Blessed Hammer to do 20% additional damage. Now that might not seem like a lot, but when you have no gear, it's kind of significant. And as you see, we have holy choices here. Well, that might change depending on what kind of gear we get. So let's just take this into a rift. Let me just show you what this basic spec is like. And forgive the fact that I have pretty good gear. Obviously, you won't have gear when you're running a spec like this, but just to replicate it. So basically, we're going to pop Akarats, get your primary going, and spam the hammers. Hammers will do most of your damage. Obviously, you won't have the Akon's bonus, you won't have this much Wrath, so you'll be forced to use Provoke like that. Laws of Valor you're going to have to constantly keep up. Just keep your hammers going as you move through enemies. You're going to be able to mow through enemies like this. Keep in mind too that I'm in Torment 6, so obviously these enemies have a lot of health. This is a basic spec that you can use while you get to 70 and then thereafter until you get other pieces of loot. So these hammers spam around, they can hit enemies multiple times. That was a change made. At one point, many Crusaders know that Blessed Hammers kind of suck because each hammer would only hit the enemy once. Now I believe that's been changed and significantly better. Now let's just throw in a loop. Let's just say that all of a sudden, boom, the Maximus drops. So you'll take the Maximus, and obviously this is a really good Maximus, but in the course of leveling, this might change your spec. In this case, I think that Slash and Crush, which gives you plus 20% critical hit chance on Slash, is a good skill. Then you can do the Burning Wrath skill or the Blessed Hammers. So now we've changed to fire essentially because this gives us a significant fire boost, right? So the spec at this point doesn't really change. It's basically the same spec, you're just going to get some more damage out of it. Same thing when it comes to lightning. You might want to change your primaries and your Blessed Hammer to lightning. It's just a very basic spec you can run. You'll have Acrats, you'll have some good skills, you'll have Blunt to do more damage, and Heavenly Strength. You're always going to want two-handers as long as you can during the season. Let's throw another curveball. Let's instead of Maximus, let's say a Jecking Board shield drops. Boom. Jecking Board is an item that may convince me to go a different route, and I'll show you what route that is. If I get the Jecking Board, I'm going to end up doing some kind of build like this. Go Shattering Throw, Holy, and then since Blessed Shield doesn't do a huge portion of damage to single targets, it's very bad at that. I'm going to add Fires of the Heaven to the mix. So then my build will become something like this. Change this to, let's see, the Towering Shield because it gets Blessed Shield damage instead of these. Then go around. See, that's my single target. So to clear the rift, I'm just going to be doing Blessed Shields like this, because the Jecking Board is going to shatter throughout enemies. But then when I get to elites, I'm going to use my dump, single target dump. It's going to do a lot of damage for that point in the game. See? So obviously there's different ways you can do this, but I think this is actually a pretty good build that you can do with little to no gear if you get a Jecking Board. Actually, believe it or not, at 70, Jecking Board is one of the top items that you can kind of build around. It allows for a decent build. Instead of Jecking Board, let's say that you get, boom, get lucky, you get a Fate of the Fell to drop. Fate of the Fell drops, you pick up Fate of the Fell, equip Fate of the Fell, and then this opens up another gear choice that you can run. So since Fate of the Fell will allow me to do a multi-pronged attack, we're no longer going to really need Blessed Shield. It's just not something that we need. So you can make, actually, the Heaven's Fury, Fires of the Heavens, your main skill. If I can get away from these mobs, I'll show you. So, spamming this is just, you can make a Holy Shotgun build, much like the old school one that thrived prior to the innovation of the new builds. So Heaven's Fury, Fires of the Heavens, and then you can, put any skill of your choice really there to replace it. And then you're just going to go around
not ready yet,
doing this and kind of replicating what this build was like. A good addition to this might be Shield Glare. And obviously with this we would take off the Towering Shield passive because it no longer helps us. So this can change to, you can do Righteousness or Holy Cause. There's some other options to play with there. So, alright, let's do one last one to show you one more scenario that could happen during season that will help you. Let's say, boom, the Underlanting Phalanx drops. This opens up the possibility to the Stampede build, which I've already done a guide on. But it's helpful because since I talked about the strengths of the Stampede build and the fact that it's not very item dependent, you can immediately put this to use. Let's say I equip this. Then my build will become something like this. I'm going to run Stampede with any ancient legendary item if you can find it at level 70 right here. We'll do fine with this build. And then you can put really anything of your choice for farming here. But you're going to want to change Wrathful probably at this point. And go with Finery once you start to get the sockets. And then you're not going to want Towering Shield, obviously. You're going to want something like Lord Commander and Long Arm of the Law, like I talked about before, which gives you the ability to get more Wrath and plus do more damage with Phalanx. So now you're going to be able to go around, do the pony spec. It's not going to do as much damage, of course, until you get something like Furnace or a Heart Slaughter, but it's going to be a viable build. So this is just to show you guys kind of what are some options in Season 2 when you're leveling. This is going to be pertinent. You'll see when I'm leveling, my gear that I get will completely depend, or it will completely guide the way that I spec my Crusader. So that's basically it, and that should kind of help you guys when you're constructing your builds around that type of gameplay once Season 2 drops. So hope it was helpful. Hope you take use of it, and I'll see you in Season 2.